Three, two, one.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Objective. It's nice to be here. If you've been watching the show regularly, you might have heard me talk about that I was having a little bit of illness, like my throat was hurting, and I don't think it's COVID. And people said, get tested. And I said, well, okay, maybe, but I don't know if I need to because I'm just hanging out at home till this passes anyway. And then yesterday, my chest started to hurt intensely. And I was breathing stressfully, not difficulty breathing, but just like somehow it was stressful to breathe, if that makes sense to you. So I went and got tested, got my results this morning. I am now a part of history. That's right. The COVID era includes me. I'm a part of society. That's kind of nice. And I know a lot of you feel bad. A lot of you feel like it's a little bit your fault. Like, wow, we're just sitting around here while this COVID positive patient gets on here and hosts the show. Well, if I can tug at your heartstrings a little bit, and I'll say, please consider becoming an ARC UK member. It's the least you can do, really. Look at me. By the way, my computer also failed on me this week. My 7-year-old iMac. It's guaranteed. They tell you it'll last you 7 years, and that's exactly what they mean. After 7 years, my iMac has failed. So now I have COVID-19 and no computer. Imagine being a good person your whole life, and God treats you like Job. That's what I'm going through right now. So please think about how much you consume from this channel, from this network. And there's a lot more you could consume if you become a member. Think of it like, I'm a Netflix member, it's a few, whatever, $10, $15 a month, and you consume some entertainment. Think about how much you consume from here or how much you could be consuming, and consider becoming a paid member. It's a great way for us to keep the lights on and to have events like the one coming up at the bottom of this hour. It's called Philosophy. Who Needs It? Based on the famous essay by Ayn Rand, hosted by James Valiant and Don Watkins. Bruh, this is going to be a good one. I'm looking forward. So if you want to see more stuff like that and support stuff like that, consider becoming a member. Anyway, let's talk about Jeff Bezos. Now, this is a guy who has just done so much for me personally. Think about how I'd be dealing with this COVID result if I couldn't order anything online, if I couldn't have it delivered to me. And obviously Amazon are not the only ones delivering stuff, but they innovated. They broke new ground. They accelerated things. They brought about the future. You know what I mean? So I love Amazon. And by the way, speaking of Netflix and all of that, you get like a bunch of movies and TV shows just for becoming an Amazon Prime member. Like I'm Amazon Prime for the fast deliveries. And yeah, it comes with like the equivalent of a Netflix membership, which is itself a gigantic innovation. It's like having a Blockbuster video store located, right next to you, delivering you instant movies and shows all day, anytime you want. It's really something to be thankful for. But how do a lot of people look at Jeff Bezos? They say, oh, why does he need so much money? Why should anyone else be starving and hungry and without medical care while he has so many billions? I would ask you, what has the sick and hungry person done for Jeff Bezos versus what has Jeff Bezos done for the sick and hungry? He's provided the sick and hungry a higher standard of living, opportunities, economic opportunities, and again, a higher standard of living. So, it really is a inversion of things. It is a bastardization of the concept of justice. When people say it's unjust for a billionaire like Jeff Bezos to have his billions until everyone else is, quote, provided for. A lot to get into today. I'm hoping I don't get hit with another chest attack while we're on the air, but honestly, that would make for good television. But I'm not gonna fake it. But I am gonna pass it over to the co-host who was going to be the actual solo host today. I found out I was getting ready to do the show. Listen, this is showbiz. You get COVID, you show up to work. Welcome to showbiz, folks. The show must go on. But then I'm on Twitter, getting ready for the show. And what do I see? An announcement by ARC UK. Coming up, Jonathan Hoenig hosting the show. I'm like, I thought I was on the show today. Apparently, the communication technique, but understandably so, because we don't have enough members yet. Rozzy can only communicate so much. The communication technique was just to not schedule me because I announced on social media that I have COVID. So we're going to work. We promise to do better. We promise that to you, but we need your help to get there. How's that? Thank you, Mary Aline, for the super chat already. And let's meet our co-host. This is a guy who, he recently hosted a solo episode. He walked us through his history. It was fascinating for me to watch. He's a real American success story, a real all-American kind of guy. He had the frosty tip hair back in the 90s. Not an easy look to pull off as a member of the tribe, as we're called in showbiz. This is what your hair looks like when you are God's chosen people. It doesn't exactly lend itself to frosty tip spikes, but where there's a will, there's a way, and he's definitely he's made his own luck in life. Please welcome Jonathan Hoenig.
Thank you, Rucka. Happy you're with us. Sorry you're going through what you're going through, and I hope that you have a really quick recovery, and happy you're with us. And thanks to Mary Aline for her, as you said, her super chat contribution, and to all of our contributors today. Mary Aline kind of hers was in honor of Jeff Bezos. He's our topic today, and we're talking about Jeff Bezos because he is stepping down now. It's been 27 years. He built Amazon into one of the most successful companies of all time. They have 1.3 million employees. It's kind of an amazing number, 1.3 million, not customers, employees. And of course, hundreds of millions of customers all around the world. He's such an interesting guy, Rucka. I mean, there's a lot been talked about Jeff Bezos. He's actually the son of a Cuban immigrant, the adopted son of a Cuban immigrant, didn't grow up with, a lot of money. He worked in ranches as a kid. In high school, he actually worked at McDonald's, which I thought was pretty interesting. He didn't like that job. So he and a girlfriend at the time in high school started a business where they were basically tutoring kids for summer camp. They started a 10-day summer camp for kids. They charged $600 a kid, and they taught them the Lord of the Rings. So this was just a really innovative, creative, entrepreneurial guy from the start. He went to Princeton. He ended up working at an investment firm. He left that to work in startups. And then, and this is a story that's been widely told, in 1994, he was reading about how the internet was growing. It was growing at 2,300% in 1 year. And he said, in effect, I want to get into that business. He made up a list of 20 different possible products to sell. He settled on books. And I thought this was kind of an amazing little tidbit of his story. Most of those initial meetings he talked about for Amazon.com were actually held where? At a Barnes & Noble bookstore, which were pretty big back in the 1990s, as I said, as we remember. And Rucka, you said, people have a lot of, let's just say, envy towards Bezos now because he is so wealthy. He tells the story of that difficulty in raising the initial capital for Amazon.com. And, we always talk about investors and business people as really heroes, as wealth creators. And Bezos says that he had to take 60 meetings to raise that first $1 million for Amazon.com. 60 meetings. So he got it from 22 people, he says, at approximately $50,000 a person. Keep in mind that since the IPO, the stock's returned about 223,000%. Pretty good. Actually unparalleled. But, Rucka, you talked a bit about kind of the history there. I thought we'd take a quick look back and remember what life was like before Jeff Bezos and Amazon.com, because it's, this might not be a sound. Do you remember the sound of this?
Oh, yeah.
This was, that was life in 1995. Jeff Bezos said that one of the biggest problems he had was when he was talking to people about starting Amazon.com, they said, well, what's the internet? They didn't even know what the internet was. So we think about what shopping was like before Jeff Bezos. I mean, I remember it pretty vividly, and shopping was a major drag. I mean, you had to go into these dingy stores, and whatever merchandise happened to be on the store, and they really couldn't, what you wanted, or like there was just it was really terrible in hindsight. And all that Amazon's done and created has been widely talked about and widely described. And Bezos talks a lot about this, and of course Rand talks about the act of wealth creation is really turning wealth into more wealth and innovation. And when you look at how Amazon's changed over the years, Rucka, as you said, I mean, Amazon now, you get all the movies for free, right? You get a whole blockbuster's worth of movies for free. But when they started, they were just that simple website. Bezos talks about actually creating this initial homepage himself. He wrote the HTML for that. He programmed the HTML. How it's changed over the years, improving, getting a little, savvier, integrating all these new technologies. I mean, they never stopped innovating, ever, to this day. And I actually look back at my own Amazon history. First thing I bought on Amazon, I don't know if I'm proud of this or not, but it happened to be in 2002. It was a copy of Ayn Rand's Capitalism, the Unknown Ideal. And I was kind of a slow adopter, Rucka, I have to say. I mean, these people have amazing vision, but even in 2003, I'd bought 9 orders. Of course, by 2020, I'd already bought 190 orders. So, I'll just abbreviate it by saying this. Amazon's changed our world. Jeff Bezos has changed our world so much for the better. And he's, in my opinion, he's a moral hero who deserves tremendous tremendous accolades. What would you say if you saw him, if you met Jeff Bezos, other than thank you? Thank you for all you've done to improve, selfishly, my life on Earth. And we'll talk a bit about the letter in a moment he wrote to his employees announcing his departure. But if you met Bezos, Rucka, what would you say to him?
Keep going. Keep going. Keep doing your thing. I think a lot of people who do meet people like that, they kind of put aside a lot of their sort of altruist premises, and they do sort of warm up to the sort of famous and successful. Like, I think, there's sometimes it's based on sort of a superficiality, kind of a star effer, I'll say, kind of mentality. But in other cases, a more sort of benevolent look at what that is can be that people, when they're sort of breathing the same air as somebody so great, they sort of see it for what it is. They see a person who really has been virtuous, kind of like reading The Fountainhead, and you see the way that that they talk in moral terms, like Dominique and even Wynand telling Toohey, like Toohey says at one point, maybe people probably want to kill me or something like that, and Wynand says, you flatter your fellow man. Like, just the fact that they all have this sort of like default egoistic altruism, like it's not egoistic ethics, where the objectivist ethics is sort of the default. In a certain respect, philosophy kind of identifies things that people already are living with, that they already are operating under. So in a sense, egoism has been and is the moral default. Like, we celebrate success.
Really?
In a sense, remember, that's
I wish it was the case. Bezos himself.
You're not hearing me. In a sense, there is a very crucial role for explicit philosophy, because it makes explicit what was implicit. But just as the rules of logic are sort of implicit from the time you're born, one could say, I think egoism is in a sense sort of implicit in any time a person looks at the world and does something about it. So in a certain respect, I think a lot of people appreciate people like Bezos. A lot of people anyone who strives to do anything in life sort of understands that that egoistic morality is the way, or it's a way. And it takes a philosopher, it takes an intellectual to explain, look, this egoism, it conflicts with this Christian altruism, and you need to pick one. You can't compromise between the two. It's not going to work. The evil leeches off the good. So I try to understand where I'm coming from when I say, in a sense, the rational, egoistic way is implicit in all human affairs. But maybe it's going to take some more fleshing out.
Well, it's Bezos is seen as a monopolist, as too successful, not charitable enough. He's mean. He was hauled in front of Congress for antitrust. Here's a political cartoon of Amazon. Somebody's dying in the desert here. Water, water. And there's Jeff Bezos saying that'll be $78 with a Prime membership. That's how this amazing innovator who's improved all of our lives. I mean, I wish I agreed with you that he was seen as this, and that his egoism. I mean, he didn't create Amazon to, and we'll get to his letter in a second. But he created Amazon because he wanted to make something. It was something for him. Wasn't to better the world necessarily, but he saw a market. He wanted to fill it. And but how is he viewed? He's viewed as evil. When people talk about a bad guy these days, Jeff Bezos is top of the list.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree that he's vilified and should not be vilified at all. But I mean, we want to look at the full context. We do also live in a culture that, has some degree of admiration for people like Bezos. He is invited places to speak, and people are getting in line to meet him, and they're excited to talk to him. His story could probably be made by Hollywood and would be, his life story would be viewed and celebrated. I mean, he could write a book that people would love to read. So it's not so black and white in terms of evaluating the culture. I think we want to be careful not to overgeneralize. Yes, people like him are vilified because altruism is still the explicit moral code. But like I said, there is sort of a drive of egoism that is seen in the sort of spirit of America and the spirit of the modern world, the sort of the entrepreneurial spirit. It's not completely gone. If it were completely gone, we'd be in even bigger trouble. So there's good in the culture. I think we need to notice. We need to pay attention to. I know it doesn't feel that way these days, especially the way hedge fund managers are being treated. I've seen people tweet, with all this GameStop stuff happening, people saying things like, "Oh, they locked us down. They imposed these lockdowns on us, so we destroyed the lives of the hedge fund managers." Like that's revenge, as if you and the hedge fund guys imposed this lockdown, right? Jonathan, you and the hedge fund people are in charge, and you impose the lockdowns. It's just so incoherent the way people lump hedge fund managers with like the powers that be.
And look at Bezos. I mean, there's people talk about the amount of, Amazon stock, I believe, is basically probably doubled since the start of the lockdowns worldwide, since the start of COVID. And when people say, oh, Bezos has made another X billion dollars, zillion dollars, oh, how unfair that is, how terrible that is. So, even at the same time that the efficacy of Amazon is making our lives even somewhat palatable, possible during this pandemic, Bezos is lambasted. He's demonized for creating the technology that makes it possible. Now, we got a super chat from Luke. Thank you so much, Luke. £5. That's very generous. You can do a super chat at home. You should do it right now. But Luke asks, how do you view the controversies regarding employee treatment? Does it change your moral evaluation of Bezos? What do you think, Rucka? The controversies regarding employee treatment.
First of all, I don't know that much about such controversies. I'm naturally going to be a little suspicious of them and say they sound like they're a little bit exaggerated, but in general, I don't actually know that much about the specifics. If there is a very unnecessarily toxic working environment among the employees, then, definitely ask for something better and consider quitting, and you can unionize as well. There's nothing wrong with voluntary unionizing, but these are the types of things that tend to be exaggerated. These are the types of things that people, they want to be true. Like they want the employee conditions to be miserable, and they come up with all these exaggerated stories like, yeah, the employees are peeing in bottles because they're not getting paid enough, or they're not getting breaks. And I think in these types of work setups, you get paid more the more you accomplish. So if people are peeing in bottles, it's probably because they really want to get as much done as possible. Just like if I'm an Uber driver and and I'm, let's say, peeing in a bottle, it's not because Uber is not allowing me to take bathroom breaks. It's because I want to pick up and drop off as many people as I can. That being said, please be sanitary, folks. Please get to a sink with soap at any time you're going to do that type of thing. What do you say to those things?
Well, I mean, look, Rucka, look at how the Ayn Rand Center UK treats their employees. They make you show up to work even with COVID. I mean, talk about terrible employee treatment. No, I mean, I think you said it just to yourself. I mean, Jeff Bezos, Amazon is all about trade. I mean, it's a massive trading post. Think about all those small businesses who are able to do business because they're able to sell on Amazon. Think about the people who publish books on Amazon. I mean, it's a center for trade. One of those trades, among those trades, are the trades that they make with their employees, all of which are there voluntarily. And without, as you said, getting into any specifics of perhaps any evidence of criminality or wrongdoing or violation of people's rights, if they're not happy with the job that they're having in Amazon, go find another job. This thing is this idea of like, well, they're being missed. It's a bad job compared to what? Compared to no job? Compared to no opportunities? Now, it doesn't take away the fact, and I even saw some discussion, Rucka, among some other objectivists I'll share, that Bezos is mixed by many accounts. Here's an excerpt from Facebook. Someone says, objectivist fanboys can praise Jeff Bezos for his virtues till the cows come home. The fact remains Bezos is as mixed as the economy he explicitly supports. And just recently, Bezos came out basically in support of a $15 an hour minimum wage. So he is not a free market capitalist. He is not an Ayn Rand hero. But that was Don's response there, and I'll paraphrase and I'll echo it by basically saying, who is? What business people out there, ex John Allison and a few others, are really explicit supporters of free market capitalism? We have to give Bezos his due for the virtues, for his wealth creation, and for his commitment to. I want to share this. Before we run out of time here, this was his final letter to employees, and I encourage everyone to go read it. But he's not retiring. This is not a guy who's going to go, sit on a beach. He's focusing his attention on new products and early initiatives. He says the journey began 27 years ago. Amazon was only an idea. It had no name. I like that, given objectivist emphasis on the importance of ideas. And Bezos writes, how did this happen? Innovation. Innovation is the root of our success. We've done crazy things together. We've made them normal. And if you get it right, a few years after a surprising innovation, the new thing has become normal. And that's really what he's done. He ends it, and again, I'll encourage you all to read this. Keep inventing, don't despair when at first the idea looks crazy. Remember to wander, let curiosity be your compass. It remains day one. So despite all of his mixed premises and his issues, here's a real inventor, here's a real innovator who's changed all of our lives, who should be celebrated. There should be statues of Jeff Bezos out there, given what he's done for mankind.
And I think there will be someday. Maybe it'll be in the far future, but when, if there is a future for humans, we're going to have to do some philosophical house cleaning. And at that point, I think we'll see Jeff Bezos and people like him for the heroes that they are. It's amazing. I'm of just a certain age where I remember life before the internet, and then I kind of saw it become what it became. And I heard of Amazon.com before I'd ever heard of the Amazon. That's the age I am. So whenever I hear about the Amazon, I'm like, oh, it's that place named after the website in a certain sense. Christopher Smith, thank you for the super chat. Thank all of you for all the generous super chats today. Smith in the chat room is saying that what I'm describing, what I'm seeing, and when I say egoism, is really just hedonism. No, yes, there is a lot of hedonism in the culture, but I'm talking about actual value-driven egoism. There is a lot of it in the culture. There is a lot of admiration for it in the culture. And we do still appreciate entrepreneurs. You can look at the success. Let's say, just for one example, the movie The Pursuit of Happiness starring Will Smith. Like, that is a pro-finance, pro-business,
That movie's 20 years old, Rucka.
It's more like 10, 15 years old. But anyway, what does that matter? Has the world changed so drastically? Just a couple of years ago, I saw that, what's her name? The Hunger Games girl invents a new type of broom in that movie. It's based on a true story. I mean, anyway, and that's just movies. In general, Jeff Bezos can give a TED Talk and people would love to tune in and hear. I mean, there is a spirit of self-help and success. I mean, you look at look at your success, Jonathan. What are you? Are you
Well,
outcast and treated like
but
like the low life?
I'll just give one more example here. This is what Washington State is doing with their love of egoism. They're going to have a billionaire tax. Washington State specifically. And who's there? It's Bezos, it's Gates, it's Steve Ballmer. So look, Rucka, I wish I agreed with you that our culture celebrates these egoist innovators like Jeff Bezos. I think they're public enemy number one. And it used to be just the Democrats. It's the Democrats and Republicans now. So as objectivists, and thank you, Mary Aline, thank you, Christopher, thank you, Philosophy at Work, thank you, Luke, to all of our super chatters. We need to be, in my opinion, I need to be top of list supporter for these people that are making our lives better. I mean, this is wealth creation. As you said, Rucka, like when you can barely remember life before it, but you would never want to go back to life before it. That's wealth creation. And that's what we have to thank Jeff Bezos for. So
absolutely.
Thank you, Jeff Bezos.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. And, you mentioned like John Allison, and I think of you in the same category, like objectivists who are masters of industry, titans of industry. And that is wonderful. And I'd love to see the next Jeff Bezos, the next like insanely successful businessman, happen to be an objectivist who is like outspoken about it. But also, it's not really their job. So it's not, Jeff Bezos's job to really do that. It's a career intellectual's job, the philosophers, the people who dedicate themselves to studying and teaching. It's their job to get philosophy right and to be honest and to help the rest of us get the tools for living. So I celebrate seeing businessmen get it to the extent that they get it. But also remember, there is such a thing as intellectuals. Like that is a vocation. That is a specialized industry, specialized skill. And they are the ones who, at the end of the day, are responsible to be doing this job. And we're thankful for the ones who are.
And I'll just say that's what we're doing at the Ayn Rand Center UK, is helping the people make the connection between what Jeff Bezos is doing and the importance of that on a philosophical level into their lives. So thanks for your subscribing, thanks for sharing, and thanks for being part of what we do every day.
Thank you, everyone, for your super chats, for your comments. Thank you for watching. We've got Ketty Schrodinger in the chat room saying, please don't pee in bottles. Now, she's been retweeted by Ben Shapiro. He was out of the blue. He was retweeting her with some sort of non sequitur once. I think Ben Shapiro was flirting outside of his marriage. I don't like to make these kinds of accusations, but I know it when I see it. And, you need to have better character than that. So we, this is if any of you want to become ARC UK members, this is a positive environment. It's a safe environment. You will not be harassed or in any way made uncomfortable. Please consider, like I said, I think that is the next step. The next step, we appreciate all of the support. Becoming an ARC UK member, it's the next step for you in your personal life to kind of learn more, to get access to more exclusive content, and also to feel like you're invested in helping this thing grow, because we're doing great things. Now, coming up in 30 minutes from now, at the bottom of this hour, is Philosophy Who Needs It with James Valiant and Don Watkins. Guys, we're getting guys like Don Watkins. He's a multiple best-selling author. He's co-authored with Yaron Brook. He's got his own channel. Like, we want to be able to bring these people on the network more often, but they've got to eat too. So we can't just expect everybody to work for free. Please help us grow this thing by becoming a member. And thank you also for the super chats. There's too many of them to even name. Thank you today. I hope my COVID positivity Zalmi T. I hope my COVID positivity helped contribute to your donations. And please consider becoming a member. Jonathan.
Now I can't. We've been on the same podcast. I can't catch COVID from the podcast, right? I mean, there's no way to transfer it through Zoom at this point. I'm safe.
I should have worn a mask. And then thank you all for your concerns. Please don't even worry about me. Just worry about ARC UK. They're the ones who need your help more than I do. Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Rozzy, behind the scenes. Even if you assumed I wasn't going to show up today. Thank you all for watching live, and thank you all for watching late. And we'll be back here same time tomorrow for the Daily Objective. Thank you and goodbye.